behind me.
All right, guys, welcome in. Tuesday morning, we're live. It's Total Bases. We were just off air talking about Tokyo Brandon's fantastic backdrop that he's got there, which this setup doesn't really do it any justice because he's got a whole bunch of cool stuff back there. I gotta try to replicate something like that. The problem is I don't have any cool stuff like that. Like that's the thing. I have more gear from college campuses than I know what to do with, but no cool stuff. But anyway, we're getting people in here. The comments are already lighting up. I'm gonna need a second coffee because I stayed up till about 2 a.m. Eastern to watch the Mariners manage their way out of a game. I'll save the no. You know what though? As I've said many times, this is a free picks Major League Baseball betting show that is entirely controlled by the chat. If someone wants to hop in the chat and bring up A's Mariners, I'm happy to complain about it. But if not, we're just going to go off the chat. So welcome in. We've got the regulars in here. I'll start with G Hurt. He's a loyal viewer of the show. And let's start with the Rangers. Good morning. Rangers fired their hitting staff. So he's, of course, referring to over the weekend. The Rangers had to shake it up. They decided to fire their hitting coach because, of course, it's always the hitting coach's fault. I've always laughed at that. Like, someone's got to fall on the sword. I mean, he's not up there trying to take at bats, and some of the accountability has to go on the players. But they fired their hitting staff. Are they still terrible? I'll start with Bryan Leonard. I don't think they ever were terrible. I don't think they're a terrible team by any means, but I do think they need to get some things ironed out. So what do you have to say about that? And why don't we lead in and make Rangers our starting point here?
Well, as for the Rangers situation with the hitters, they sent Berger to the minors, which the guy they brought up is no better than Berger. What's the point of that? They just completely cut their center fielder. And Seager just came back. He was injured. He just came back. Their problem is, and by the way, they brought up the guy that was the World Series hero a couple of years ago. He's going to be the center fielder again, but he hadn't done anything in the minors until this last week. So they just got a problem right now where the pitching's much better than the hitting. And you go down their lineup, there's not a whole lot of bats in that lineup that are in their prime that you fear. And that's the problem. They're all getting old at the same time. At least in my opinion, that's the way Texas is. Taking a look at the Texas game today with Eovaldi and Giolito. I want to play Eovaldi. He's just been as consistent, as good as anybody has been. But I do have concerns about the Texas bats. Giolito's coming back. We talked last time before his first game back. He didn't look good in his rehab starts. He didn't look good in his first game back. So if Texas can't hit Giolito today, something is up. There's a major problem there. But you're also expecting that Texas team to win as a road favorite against a team in Boston who is clearly the better hitting team. So that game has me puzzled. I think the line is basically where it should be. Wanted to play Texas's defense and pitching, did not want to play them as a road favorite.
I'm going to jump in and then I'll let TB go because I really don't have a big opinion on the game. But Brian, don't sleep on my guy, Blaine Crim. He earned that call-up. He had a great year at Round Rock last year. He was absolutely raking to start this season. That is a deserved call-up. I'm actually excited to see how he does because he's kind of like, he's got power, but he's got it to the gaps. Like he's one of the more, in my opinion, impressive hitters at AAA. It has been for the last couple seasons. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he like took this opportunity and ran with it a little bit. Berger might not just like get that job back overnight. Now, again, I believe Crim debut. I don't think he ever got called up yet last year. So I'm pretty sure a couple days ago was his major league debut. We'll see how he does against MLB pitching. As you know, the PCL, not the hardest league to hit in, but he's a guy I think could have some success. So that is the guy that got called up in Berger's place, Blaine Crim. It looks like he is going to be the starting first baseman going forward at least in the short term. TB, Rangers, Red Sox. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I just saw a comment from someone asking about Eovaldi's strikeouts. Just for the record, I project him at 5.89 strikeouts, but I don't know what his number on the book is. So the Rangers obviously have the better pitcher here. The question is, how is Lucas Giolito going to pitch? I mean, he hasn't really been good since 2020 or 2019. So, but back then he was absolutely a stud. But he's not now. Actually, Eovaldi's pitching a little bit above his means, in my opinion. He's been great this season. But the Texas bats certainly are failing them. They're ranked quite low in run production. Boston has a huge advantage in run production. Boston has a slight advantage in bullpen. I don't like either one of these bullpens, though, actually. But Texas's bullpen ranks almost towards the dead last, almost. But their saving grace is they got a better starter. This is one of those games where you got one team that's good at one thing, another team that's good at another, and we don't know how it's going to balance out. So I'm going to avoid this game.
I want to jump in with one more comment. The Rangers bullpen, I'm willing to, maybe my strongest take here, the Rangers bullpen will trend toward being one of the better bullpens in the league as the season goes on. Right now they have far and away the best bullpen at AAA. There's 4 relievers down at AAA that rate out all in like the top relievers of AAA. One kid just got called up from AA. He's probably the most talented one. But they have like probably some potential help on the way in regards to the bullpen. And as Bryan said, like the Rangers, like collectively, their pitching has been very, very good. It's really just about the hitting to catch up. And if the hitting catches up, the Rangers are not going lightly, in my opinion. They're going to be around if they can figure out their offensive woes. That's just my opinion there. All right, let's go to Kyle Nix. Sometimes it really is this easy. Like yesterday, I did a video, and I was like, the Dodgers, just laying the run line with the Dodgers just makes all the sense in the world. And I don't know why I can't get myself to bet games like that sometimes. It was -1. I think when I did the video, it was -120. Like Alcantara has looked so bad. It was just like so simple. And I mean, of course the Dodgers end up winning. They win by margin 7-4. Kyle Nix wants to know, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, hits, runs, RBIs. I guess the question I'll ask you, we'll start with Tokyo Brandon. Is it just going to be more offense for the Dodgers tonight? Certainly seems like it could be the case.
Well, Cal Quantrill has a 8.1 ERA and a 1.8 WHIP. So if there's going to be runs scored, there's going to be runs scored on the Dodgers side. I actually checked their team total, and it was 6.5. This is the first time I saw a 6.5 this season, even for Colorado games. So the books certainly are expecting that. Mookie Betts is 3 for 11 against him, and Freddie Freeman is 9 for 17. So if you're going to pick one of them, I would pick Freddie Freeman to get that runs RBIs over 1.5. However, I highly doubt you'll get a 1.5 for hits, runs, RBIs for Freddie Freeman here. If you do, I would jump on that. I haven't looked at the actual number yet, though. Bryan?
Go ahead. Bryan,
I don't do runs, hits, and RBI, so I have nothing to add there.
Well, what do you think about the game in general?
Yeah.
Well, my Gonsolin, if you take a look at his ERA and his expected ERA over the years, he's always outperformed his numbers. And I watched him in that first game because it was important because he's often injured. He looked pretty good on his individual numbers after the game, but I wasn't overly impressed by him, and of course, it's his first game back. It's something that you have to keep in mind. But I would love to have played Miami here if I had more confidence in them because to me the line's too high. Miami's got a better offense than what they're getting credit for. Quantrill has been one of those guys. He's been around. He's an innings eater, but he's I prefer him over like a Michaelis and some of the other guys that are out there. He's been able to do it. He's one of the few guys that has pitched pretty well when up in Colorado, and he was pretty good when he was in Cleveland. So his numbers are not pretty. He's not a big strikeout guy, and that always hurts when you're playing the Dodgers. You got to be able to get some of those guys to strike out. But I would prefer to play the Miami side in this game, but I just can't get there. I guess I'm not fully believing into Gonsolin at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I've obviously made it well known that I think the Marlins are a very scrappy young bunch. I mean, they're probably not going to have a winning record this year, but I think they profile much stronger than most of the losing teams in the National League, if that makes sense. Here, I think, like from a side standpoint, you would just have to take a flyer with like plus 230, plus 240. I also think you might see runs because I think the Marlins are going to contribute here to the offense. And for a lot of the reasons Bryan said, also, you have the Dodgers come in, pretty much ended up with a bullpen game yesterday and, played on Sunday night the night before, used a couple bullpen guys on Sunday night the night before. It's not that they don't have a deep pen, but like I also watched Gonsolin at Oklahoma City a couple times. I agree. I wasn't overly impressed either, at least not to the point where like he gets priced like an ace sometimes. I think some of that has to do with the fact that he's on the Dodgers. But I'm with Bryan. The numbers out of whack. So if you're looking for like some nice plus money, Marlins makes sense. I also think you're going to get some offense here out of the Marlins, and that's what I've loved the most about this Marlins team. They have some young, fearless free swingers on that team. Stowers is just killing the ball. Stowers, I owe a drink to Kyle Stowers for over the weekend. I had a big play on the Marlins on Saturday. That walk-off grand slam was the best comeback result I had all year off Mason Miller. And that's, I guess, the thing, man. Like the Marlins, they've got guys that are going to go up and like it's almost like they don't know better at this point. They're going to put a good at-bat on someone like Miller. And it's why I think they can maybe generate some runs in this game. And the other thing is, if you do get a Dodgers lead here, if they're up big, they're going to try to see this out with some of those lesser arms. So I'll be surprised if this one stays under 9.5. And I do think the Marlins have value at plus 230 or plus 240. Okay, let's see what we've got here. It looks like we got people filing in. Markinson says, good morning. He also wants to know, do we think Wheeler gets the win today? TB, you love talking about Zach Wheeler. Why don't you start us off?
I do. Zach Wheeler, I like talking about him as far as being an Iron Man. But let's take a look. We got Phillies and Rays, yeah? Let's take a look.
Yep, it's Rasmussen on the other side for TB.
Yeah. Two good pitchers. I mean, Rasmussen's been solid and Wheeler is always solid. So I have the pitchers pretty much equal so far as current form is concerned. Obviously, I think Wheeler's a better pitcher overall. He's got more pedigree and he goes deeper into games. But I mean, the Phillies have a huge batting advantage. I have the Rays, including current form, close to the bottom of the league right now. And their bullpen's not really performing well. I mean, surprisingly, the Phillies bullpen is performing quite well. So I definitely would take the Phillies in this one. I'm not sure what the number is off the top of my head, but I can see a minus 125. It's great value for taking Wheeler against the Rays, I think. You get the better lineup and the better pen.
The way I look at it, first off, hats off to Max Kepler for the Phillies. He's playing very well right now. A guy that was highly thought of coming over from Minnesota originally. And he's playing very well, which really helps this Philadelphia offense because some of their other guys have been slumping. That's a big help for them right now. The only thing I look at, Rasmussen didn't look so good in his last start, but overall he's been very good on the season. I always talk about the strikeout minus walk rate. You're getting a home underdog with the 19.5 strikeout to walk minus walk rate with Rasmussen. As much as I like Wheeler, and Wheeler's is excellent, he's at 27.6, which is unbelievable. This game could go under, but I like both starting pitchers here. I do have some concerns about this Tampa Bay offense. They're very inconsistent. Randus had a breakout year. He's been by far their best hitter on the season, but they still don't play him every day, and that's a little bit of a concern there. But if I had to take a look at this one with the starters going on, we're looking at a total of 8. It's gone up from a little 7.5 to 8. Not much of a change, but the tradition we would think of in Tampa Bay is it's a good hitter's park. Have we really seen it this year? I know in Oakland or in Sacramento, we've seen that there's a lot of runs scored. It's not really been hot enough in Tampa for the ball to fly out like they expect in the summer. So I kind of like the under in this one. I think the starting pitchers should dominate in this one. Maybe the first 5 innings under probably be better.
I like this Rays team, and I this is probably going to be an unpopular take. I think their offense has upside from a run scoring potential. Now, they're not going to hit many bombs. Like they don't have a ton of power hitters. They're not flashy, but when you watch them play and you look at just some of the numbers, which I just clicked off of here, I mean, just some basic categories, right? How did I just lose that? Anyway, I was looking at like just basic stuff like batting average, middle of the pack. They're scoring runs. Like it's not like they're not sort of generating runs. It's the power numbers that are struggling, but this pitching staff top to bottom, very, very good. They kind of remind me of the 2015 Royals a little bit, like where if they can get on base, they've got guys that can create havoc. They're probably one or two like consistent. Yeah, they need like an 800 plus, another 800 plus OBP guy. You know who I think they really missed that would have helped this team a lot is Ha-Sung Kim. He ended up being a guy they brought over, and now he's been hurt. I don't know when I think his timetable to return got pushed back. I thought he could have been a productive player for them. But the point is, they've got team speed. I think they're going to be, I don't know you want to bet against the Rays as a dog. I think that their upside is better than their record, and maybe some of the surface offensive numbers would suggest. And this pitching staff is very, very strong. Top to bottom, very strong pitching staff, and the numbers would agree with that. I think team whip, I believe, is like top 6 or top 7 in the league. So the Rays are an interesting team to me. They keep coming up on my radar as a bet on, and I'm very disappointed in myself that I didn't get there at least once over the weekend against the Yankees, because the Rays were sort of right. Like it was like the play I left off on Saturday and Sunday. And of course they won both of those games. All right, let's go to Lord King Guru in the chat. Ethan, good morning. He says, good morning, gents. We appreciate you. He's always in here. Ethan Bainbridge says, good morning. Lord King Guru, do you guys think the Cubs have the offense that can overcome now missing Shota for at least the next month? Thoughts on the over for the game today? My very quick answer there is yes, the Cubs offense is awesome. This team is awesome. And I do think they can overcome Shota being out. But we'll start with the NPB Japanese expert here. That's Tokyo Brandon. What do you make of the Shota injury, and where do you see the Cubs right now?
Yeah, Imanaga, he's pretty old actually. He was in the Japan series like more than 10 years ago. He was the winning pitcher of the final game of the Japan series for the Yokohama Bay Stars. Yeah, he's pretty old. I mean, that's basically all there is to it. I think he's even older than Sugano, who's like 34 or something. So I'm not sure Imanaga's age, but he's been pitching forever. So he's kind of like the Matsuzaka thing. When Matsuzaka came over, Daisuke came to the Red Sox from Japan. His arm was basically shot. I mean, in Japan they make people throw like complete games and 100 pitch outings once a week for a whole season. You know, I mean, they work them to death. So, I mean, the good thing about Japanese pitchers though is they recover quickly. And so I expect him to recover quickly. However, he's just aging. And I said in a previous show that expect him to drop off a little bit. There's a huge curve with Japanese pitchers when they come over. First year struggle, second year, boom. They do really well, like Yamamoto's doing right now, and Sasaki's struggling right now in his first year. And then third year, they go back down because people kind of figure them out. So that's kind of what's happening with Imanaga. I said before he's going to regress a little. He's not the stud that everyone thinks he is, but he's a solid innings eater kind of pitcher. And that's basically what happened. I think he'll be back pretty soon, though. Colin Ray in this game is also a guy who pitched in Japan. He pitched for SoftBank. I was never really that impressed with him, and I'm surprised he's doing as well as he is. So I don't really have a huge read on Ray, so I'm probably not going to bet this game. So I'd like to hear what Bryan thinks about it, though.
Yeah, they're talking Cade Horton, which has been their top pitching prospect for a few years now. He's never really gotten much of a chance. They think, at least what I've read, is they will bring him up to take his spot. And he's a good pitcher, but he's done so against AAA. It's such a big jump, especially since the COVID era where the minor leagues basically took the year off. The difference between AAA and the majors is the biggest step when you're taking a look at the players coming up through the minors. As long as the Cubs are having a lot of success offensively, but they're doing it from, at least to me, some surprising people. Carson Kelly, yeah, he's been a pretty good player his entire career as a catcher. He's having a career year. The numbers he's putting up are actually surpassing Kyle Tucker, and Kyle Tucker's having one of those years where he could be the MVP. Pete Crow Armstrong, a guy who has always been very fast and an excellent defensive player. If you've watched him his entire career, he's more of a punch and Judy hitter. He's hitting home runs now. If this is the real Pete Crow Armstrong, Chicago Cubs will have the best offense in baseball. The problem is I'm not a firm believer in Armstrong. I think right now he's made the adjustments to the pitchers. Now the pitchers need to make the adjustments to him, and when they do, he won't be nearly the same hitter as he was. But for the starting pitchers, both of them are pretty good pitchers. Obviously, Verlander's had better numbers in the past. His numbers haven't been great this year, but if you take a look at his StatCast, he still allows a hard hit rate of only 35.7, exit velocity of 87.9. If he's going to get hit, he's going to get hit, and you're just going to pick him apart with singles and doubles. Colin Ray's only allowing 5.1 walks per game, so that's his percentage. He's up at strikeout minus walk is 16.1. 16 is a really good pitcher. I'm not so sure Colin Ray has reached that so far, so he's pitching a little bit over what I would consider his norm, and that's the reason why I'm a little bit concerned with that. But overall, I think the game is priced probably where I would make it. So I'm not seeing a lot of advantages in it.
Yeah. As Slick Vic points out in the chat, something Bryan kind of talked about last week quite a bit. Cubs still the number one strength of schedule. They've played a really tough schedule. They've excelled against it. Yeah, I think this game's sort of on the money, and I'll save my Cade Horton chat for Friday because I think if he's going to debut, it would be in that Met series. I've got a lot of thoughts on him, but I'll save it for when he's actually going to pitch. All right, let's stay with Slick Vic. Got to bring this one up. Padres Yankees. I did a video for WagerTalk yesterday on this game, and really like the gist of my breakdown was the Padres, like even in their current state, if you're going to get like plus money on the Padres, you can't really be betting against that at this point. I understand they have injuries, but like Cronenworth and Merrill have been out for a month. They're such a good team. They understand how to win. Tremendous bullpen. I arguably the best bullpen in the league. So that was like the thing that stood out to me yesterday. That price, of course, it looked like the Yankees were on cruise control. Devin Williams, that needs to be studied at this point. But the Padres get out with a win. So I'm not sure if Slick Vic is referencing Padres yesterday winning, which of course they ended up holding on 4-3. But this game occurs again today. Yankees, Padres. Now, not nearly as good of a price, but I think you're also getting a much better sort of setup here for the Padres with Michael King on the mound against Clark Schmidt, who just kind of returned from injury. Someone I'm not really scared to play against. So I'll go to Bryan Leonard first. Padres, Yankees. How do you? I'm not betting against the Padres right now. What about you?
I was hoping to get him as an underdog. That would have probably been my best play today if I did. Clark Schmidt came back and he hasn't looked good. 14 innings pitched, basically 5.52 ERA, 1.43 WHIP. He's battled injuries and he looked like he had a breakout. Last year he had 2.85 ERA, 1.18 WHIP. They were excited about him coming into the season, but he kept getting hurt. They kept pushing it back. I think he's not a guy I'm looking to put my money on at this point. And then you got King, who had his breakout as relief pitcher for the Yankees. They traded him away that last year. He left the Yankees, and he's been fantastic. And now he gets a chance to go back and play his old team. He has probably pitched as many games in New York as Clark Schmidt the last few days, or few seasons. So he knows the stadium very well. I prefer the Padres here. I just want to get a little bit better number. We'll see how it goes. The Yankees actually opened up a little bit of a favorite. Now we're getting San Diego, a slight favorite. Still like San Diego, but I would have preferred plus money coming back. You can still get plus 101 at Pinnacle, but most other places have it at minus 103, minus 105, 7, something like that.
I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. I think the Padres were lucky to win that game yesterday, that rain delay. They were winning, and it was, I think, 7th inning. That game should have ended, but someone in New York was hell-bent on getting that game played. Maybe MLB was there mandating that game get finished. They finished that game. The Padres came back and won it. Now, should have been a loss, to be honest. I think New York's going to be a little ticked off that they didn't get that win there, and I think they're going to come out slugging. I agree with what both of you said, though. San Diego could have the best bullpen in all of MLB. King is pitching lights out. So my only, pragmatic reason for liking the Yankees here is they're in better form hitting wise, and they're a good home team. And they're a little ticked off because of yesterday. Those are pretty much it. I think this game's going to get rained out, to be honest, but that's my take.
I don't think I've ever disagreed with something more in my entire life. These games should be trying to go you should be trying to get 9 innings in at absolute all costs. This is professional baseball at the highest level. I think they've called games way too quickly in some instances. We're, as bettors, and with how prominent sports betting is, like, we're betting on a 9-inning game. I cannot stand how quickly some of these games get called. I do not care if this game has to be finished at 11:30 and there's 10 people in the ballpark. You're getting paid millions of dollars. They should not. The only reason the game should be called is if they can literally go out there and say, you know what? There is no way we can play baseball on this field tonight. There's just absolutely no way. Not because you have to get to the next city, not because it's going to keep people out for a little bit. I can't. They have called games way too quickly this year. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, there was talk all day long yesterday that the Cleveland game was going to get rained out and the Yankees game was going to get rained out. So I was surprised that the Yankees got the game in at all. And as somebody pointed out, that make it rained out today. There's been a ton of rain. I've got relatives in Cleveland, and it has rained. They got flooding. It's been raining every day through that entire area. And even followed Cleveland when they went to Washington yesterday and it got rained out. So it's a lot of rain in that area today. So make sure before a lot of guys like to play these parlays and all this other stuff. Make sure your game's going to be played.
Listen, I have no issues. I have no issues with them calling a game early because of a threat of weather, because it really does put a lot of people out. Fans, traveling, getting to the ballpark. If you don't call it early, you want to call it early in the day and say, hey, we're worried about the weather. That's fine. I'm talking about everyone's there. We're playing a game, and then we're just going to say, the hell with it after 7 innings. I would have been furious if I lost Padres because of that. It's a 9-inning game. The game needs to finish unless it absolutely can't go on. They've called games too quickly. Sorry, that's something that just
sure.
am passionate about. Going to get fired up.
They used to do double headers in 7 innings, but they're doing double headers in 9 innings now.
Hated that too. That's as bad as the Ghost Runner. That's as bad as the Ghost Runner. I don't have enough time with this show being an hour show to go off on a tangent about the Ghost Runner and 7-inning doubleheader. So we got to move on.
Looks like we hit a nerve.
Mark Kinson, he says unpopular take on the Rays. Telling you right now, don't sleep on this Rays team. They've got pitching down at Durham too. They just have to figure out how to generate a little offense. They're going to be they're going to be in the mix. Johnny Guns, you must be new to Korean baseball, so I want to make sure I clarify. Hae-sung Kim is on the Dodgers. Yes, he went 2 for 4 last night. His first, he just got called up. His first MLB hit. Ha-sung Kim was on the Padres for years. He's now on the Rays. He's been hurt. 2 different guys. But yes, our guy, me and TB, our guy Hae-sung Kim has now made it to the big leagues with the Dodgers. He's going to be a good player. He is going to be a very, very good player. His upside, many were saying, is that of Jung-Ho Lee or better. So he is great bat to ball. He's going to be a good player. The one on the Rays. Go ahead.
45% of Koreans are named Kim. Another 45 are named Lee, and the other 10% are named Choi.
Yeah. He's not wrong. It is you'll see that when you watch KBO enough. There's quite a few that have very, very similar names. So we've got, and actually, I think Haesung changed the spelling of his name slightly when he came to America, so it was like not hyphenated. So I believe like the American, I think the Americanized version is just one word, Hyesong, while Ha-Sung Kim of the Padres, now the Rays, still goes by Ha-Song Kim. Anyway, just wanted to clear that up. Gonna work our way through the chat here, find another game.
I was asking about the Nats Cleveland, if you don't
No,
mind.
you know what? Yeah, I was gonna say let's do that. We got to cover that. That's a
I don't mean
doubleheader.
to strong arm you into a game, but I do have a good play on that one.
No, I'm glad you did, because I want to talk about that doubleheader. I have opinions there too. So start us off, DB. If you want to talk about both games of the doubleheader as a whole, we've got Guardians Nationals, our lone day game. Thank God we have a day game today. Doubleheader down in DC. Start us off.
Well, just quick betting advice. I don't know if you guys are going to disagree or not, but I have a strict policy: never bet a game 2 of a doubleheader, because you don't know how game 1 turns out, and you don't know what the lineups are going to be. At least in game 1, you know what the lineups are, and you know who's starting, and you have a general idea. They're going to try to win game 1 more than they're going to try to win game 2, because the winner of game 1 might, relax in game 2. The loser of game 1 might try harder in game 2. There's a lot of variables, but game 1, they're both trying equally. So I lay off game 2s always, 100%. Blake Irvin is an interesting pitcher here regarding props. He's not the best pitcher in the world, but he is absolutely an Iron Man, in my opinion. Love watching him pitch. And I know he's not the glamour pitcher like Wheeler and one of those guys, but I like watching him pitch, and he goes really deep into games. His prop is 17.5 outs recorded over under. I think he's going to fly over 17. I think he's going to finish 6 innings quite easily. He's finished 6 innings against the Phillies. He went into the 8th inning against the Mets. Those are some power lineups. And Cleveland is ranked towards the bottom right now in hitting. I have him ranked 24 out of 30, including current form, of course. He went 6.1 against Colorado. He went 7 innings against Pittsburgh. He went 6 innings against the Dodgers. All of those teams, except for the Rockies and maybe the Pirates, hit better than Cleveland. So I think his props over 17.5 is good, and it's minus 120.
To touch base on what you were just saying about the first game and second game, I'm in agreement. The deal is, if you're betting Cleveland in the first game, if they win, chances are they blow out their best relievers and won't be able to pitch them in the second game. Cleveland loses, then the best relievers don't play in the first game, and they will pitch in the second game. So it's tough to make a judgment on game 2 before you know what happens at game 1. Overall, if you're going to give me Washington a plus money in both games at home against a Cleveland team who only has 2 major league hitters in their lineup, I will take Washington. I think if you were to just blindly play Washington, you get a split, you make a little bit of money. If you're looking to play those games, that's what I would do ahead of time. But yeah, you're completely right when it comes to especially bullpens. If your favorite bullpen wins the first game, that means their best bullpen guys pitched, and they probably won't pitch again in the second game.
Yeah, that's so for doubleheaders. I think what you need to do, at least what I do, is you have to have a plan for game 2, kind of like what Bryan was saying. It's not, but yeah, I would not bet it beforehand, because I really do think you need to see how game 1 plays out. I'll typically go in with a set of circumstances that I'm hoping for, and I'll sort of base my play or not to play it on that. So I do think the rain out kind of helps the Nats, because the Guardians had a little bit of a bullpen edge yesterday, and they no longer have that. They got the day of rest, so that certainly helps the Nationals. what I'll be looking for, and actually the same thing could put me on the Guardians in game 2. Brad Lord is going to pitch game 2 for the Nationals. Now, he's a starter, but in a perfect world, he's a bulk reliever, right? Like if the Nationals were fully healthy with their starting rotation and had a 5-man starting rotation, you would have Brad Lord as your innings eater long reliever. That's the role that he is made for. They just don't have 5 starters. So he's sort of been doing it as a starter. So he typically tops out at 4 or 5 innings, and the Nationals don't have a very deep bullpen. That's probably their biggest, that's probably the worst part of this Nats team. They got a ton of upside, a lot of good young players, but they lack bullpen depth. And so like Bryan is saying, if they really burn through the good ones in the first game and you get like a little bit deeper into that bullpen, they're going to have a hard time putting 5 together, especially if they use some of the good arms in game 1. Whereas like Ben Lively, you can pretty much set your watch to him going 6 quality innings at this point. Absolutely mind-blowing stuff. But guy goes out, throws 89, spots his pitches, gives his team 6 innings, and keeps him in the game every game. So there's a world where the Guardians in game 2 makes sense. It's going to really depend a lot on how game 1 plays out. And I need to check this. I do not quote me on this, but someone in my baseball Discord yesterday brought up, or 2 days ago brought up, that 55% of doubleheaders are sweeps, which was absolutely shocking to me. I need to know what time frame that is, how far he's going back. But that was the stat that got floated around. 55% of doubleheaders. I don't know if that means since we went back to a 9-inning doubleheader, what it means. I got to research that. The team that won game 1 has won game 2. And that was super surprising to me.
Well, it kind of makes sense, because if a team is favored, they got a better chance of winning. And if you're favored in one game, you're probably favored in the other unless there's a major pitching mismatch. So it does surprise me, 55%. I would think that
very surprising.
Yeah.
My homework is by tomorrow to actually figure out what that stat is. What frame of time it's referencing, how far it's going back, because I have to say that was like, I would have never guessed that. I would have thought more often than not they ended in a split. So that's surprising stuff. Okay. All right, let's move on.
I want to ask you guys about a pitcher that's going today. I want your opinion on it, but we can take questions from the chat. We still got some time here.
I'm going to go back to the chat question, but we'll go ahead, TV. Why don't you propose a game while I'm looking for one in the chat?
I just want to know what you guys think of Chad Patrick for the Brewers. Great ERA and great numbers, but he's 1-3. I don't know a lot about him, so I've been kind of laying off his games, but I'm kind of tempted to take the Astros here, but I'm kind of scared because I don't really know much about this guy.
I'll start. I'm tempted to take the Astros too. I think Chad Patrick is going to be a guy that ends up in the league for a very long time at like the back end of a rotation. I don't know that his stuff is going to like be over, it's going to overpower at the big league level. Fastball is like 94, 95, but he's a very good pitcher. This is something I kind of, felt like he was super consistent at the AAA level, like doesn't really get fazed by anything. I think he's the perfect competitor. That's like exactly what you want in your fifth starter. He probably knows that his stuff is not going to like fully play at the big league level, but he's just a very, very good pitcher. That being said, I think the Astros probably have the bats to, do some damage against him. Whereas like Wenisensky, in my opinion, has the much greater upside for like a major league starter. And I'm actually like, I thought him going to the Astros was going to be like a huge win for him in the Astros. I thought he'd be like a breakout guy for their pitching staff. And his numbers are okay, but he hasn't really done it yet. So where I am I'm high on Wenisensky. I do think the Astros have the slightly better team right now. And I just think Patrick is beatable by a good offense. So I'm looking at the Astros here as well. We'll go to Bryan.
Yeah, Patrick's got a nice ERA, 2.87, whip 1.28, not bad. But if you take a look at his Savant numbers, He's in the 4th percentile in ground ball rate, 12th percentile in hard hit rate, 20th percentile in whiff rate, which means he's going to give up fly balls. He has a problem with people hitting him hard. His barrel rate is in the 76th percentile, which is pretty good. I think he's been pretty lucky when you look at all of his other numbers. He's been pretty lucky in that regard. I think Houston will get to him. Wisniewski's the better pitcher. I like him. I like what Houston's done with him. The only problem is they skipped him on his last start, so he's not on his regular rotation spot. That sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. We don't know. There's no past history on that. So I prefer the Houston side here. I think the line is fair. If I had to play this game, I'd play Houston, but we'll have to see how he does with this big rest.
The Cubs did that to him often, though. When he was on the Cubs, I mean, he was like the guy that they were like, all right, need you in Iowa. Oh, we don't need you today. We're going to make you wait 7 days and pitch. Now you're back at AAA. Now we're going to throw you out of the bullpen. That the Cubs really he was like their, jack of all trades, master of none a little bit for a while. But yeah, I don't think it's going to really affect him. Go ahead, TV.
No. I don't have anything. I was scratching my ear, but glad we covered that. Sorry to steal the question from the chat.
No, I'm glad we did, because I am giving the Astros a long, hard look today. I really want to play Wisniewski there, and I think Patrick, like Bryan was saying, he profiles as someone you can play against. He might get bombed here sooner than later. I know that it didn't happen to him often at AAA, but sometimes big league hitters with their ability to hit fly balls out of the ballpark is probably what's going to catch up to him at some point. And as we know, the Astros have done that well for a very long time. So yeah, the Astros are getting a long, hard look for me today. Might end up on my card. Let's go to Craig, because this is a game we got to touch on. Paul Skeens looks human. His team certainly looks human. His team isn't very good. I wonder how much of that's starting to play into, his struggles. Is there value on St. Louis? Let's go back to Bryan Leonard. Paul Skeens, I think he's a -130 favorite on the road today. What do we think here?
Yeah, we actually got two pitchers that have been very good this year. Liberatore, 3.44 ERA, 0.97 whip. His ground ball percentage is in the 67th percentile. He doesn't walk anybody. He's in the 98th percentile of walks. So you're not going to get many hitters on for Pittsburgh. And I don't like this Pittsburgh offense at all. O'Neill was really hot, but the rest of their guys, Reynolds is having a down year. They've got extreme offensive problems in Pittsburgh, and I just don't see anything in the minor leagues in which they're going to be able to bring those guys up and help them. And Pittsburgh's not a team that makes a lot of trades. So as much as I root for Pittsburgh, being from Cleveland, they were like the National League team I always rooted for. Other than Skeens, they haven't really shown much. They've got their best pitcher in the minors who should be called up at any time. We will see if they actually do that. It seems to me that Pittsburgh's not a team that's trying to win. And that's the problem the Pirates fans have run into. Very similar to the Minnesota Twins. They make very strange moves. So if you can get Liberatore here at a nice price, as much as I like Skeens, St. Louis is starting to play a little better ball. They started the year well, slumped majorly, but now they're starting to play much better. If there's anybody on this St. Louis team right now that I think has an upshoot in the lines, it's Liberatore. So I kind of like them in this regard.
I agree with Bryan wholeheartedly. I think Liberatore is maybe even putting up better numbers. It's hard to say better numbers than Skeens, but his walk ratio is great. He's a pitcher probably no one's ever heard of, but he's having a great season. I see, and I agree with Markinson in our chat. I think Skeens returns to Super Saiyan form here. Saiyajin. I think he's gonna come back to himself. He had a bad start. Two offenses that are struggling, especially Pittsburgh, and St. Louis's offense is on the rise a little bit, but they're still below average according to my numbers in current form. So two really good pitchers, two bullpens that are extremely mediocre. So I don't really trust them. So first five under, I think, would be the way to go here when you have two lineups that are struggling a little, especially one really struggling. And one very underrated pitcher and one pitcher that gets a lot of accolades, but they're both good. I think first 5 under is the way to go. I found a first 5 alt under for 4.5 for pretty decent odds. So I would even take a 3.5.
3.5 is the current number. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you know how you're dealing with a generational stud talent is when we're calling 3 runs over 5 innings a bad start. I mean, it's not 7 shutout wipeout innings, but last I checked, especially in MLB these days, 5 innings, 3 runs is a pretty serviceable outing. It's just, and even with that outing, his whip is still under 1. That's 0.95. ERA under 2. So I don't know that he's got a return to anything. Like he's, and there's absolutely just, again, not a conversation. Liberatore, Skeens, not in the same conversation. Just the far better starter is Skeens. The only reason the Pirates should ever be favored in the game is him. The one thing I will point out, though, is the team that's probably made him work the hardest and hit him the best since he's gotten called up is the Cardinals. If you go back to last year, they were the team that I think eventually broke through, maybe beat him at least, kind of gave him the toughest time. And his worst start of the year was St. Louis earlier this year in Pittsburgh, 5 runs over 6 innings. So, and if you're looking at this game from like the whole game, just knowing that they're going to probably make him work and he's probably going to go 6 innings probably gives you a little bit of a value edge with Cardinals plus money, because that's the one thing I think you can count on. Even if he's lights out, even if he's really good, this Cardinals lineup is good enough, and they seem to have scouted him well enough to this point where they can make him work hard enough, get him out after 6, and then you get the Pirates bullpen, which is, as we know, like pretty beatable. So that's an interesting game. Won't have anything there, but it's just an interesting game. Let's see. So let's go to, someone in the chat asked about bullpens. TB says he thinks it's Mets Diamondbacks. I'm inclined to agree with him just without even barely looking at the game, but it's an interesting game to talk about. So let's go out to the desert. Mets D-backs. Look like the Diamondbacks might steal this one in the 8th last night. They didn't. The Mets hold it off. But yeah, the Diamondbacks are in a desperate situation bullpen-wise with Justin Martinez now on the IL. So this is David Peterson, Zach Gallen. Normally, I'd be all over Arizona in this spot with this matchup, but with the bullpen's going to keep me off. What about you, TV?
Zach Gallen's very overrated by the books. He's one of those pitchers that they just love him, and I don't know why. Kind of like Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is a good pitcher. Zach Gallen, decent pitcher, but way too much credit from the books, in my opinion. Peterson is one of those guys, like my numbers love him, but I don't personally. Like he doesn't pass my eye test, but my numbers for some reason love him every time I run my numbers. Mets have the better hitting. Mets have the better bullpen. So I was on the Mets yesterday, which I cashed, so I was happy about that. I'm not sure 2 in a row. I'm generally one of those guys who treats each event as a separate event, but these guys are human beings and there is a revenge factor. How much of a factor is debatable. I think each event is its own event. So the Mets have an advantage in this one, pitching, bullpen, and hitting, but I don't think I'm going to be on them today. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, the Diamondbacks, the last 2 days, if you take a look at their bullpen, the top 5 guys, the 5 guys you're really counting on at the end of the game, have all thrown at least 19 pitches. It's not terrible, but none of them are really coming in fresh. I know Thompson won't be able to pitch. He threw 36 pitches the last 2 innings or 2 games. Murillo 32. Yeah, I'm in full agreement. I feel the same way about these pitchers. I don't want to back Gallen because he's just not the same pitcher as he was. Peterson's a guy. I used to make fun of Peterson. I used to try to bet against Peterson all the time. He has made some changes, and he's been pretty good in that regard. But he's been better this year. The last year and a half, actually, he's been a better pitcher. He was highly touted. I mean, they thought he was going to be a really key for them in the future. Struggled early, and we see that a lot of times out of these young pitchers, and then they find something that works for them, and it's worked. So what he has done past the last year and a half, I'd throw that out. He's a different pitcher now. I prefer the Mets here. You're not getting him at a plus dog price, but you're getting him a slight underdog here. I prefer him as a starter, and with the Arizona bullpen the way it is now, the only way I could look is to play the Mets.
Yeah, I'll go back to this again. Last year, early in the year, I think it was like maybe early May, late April. Your boy slipped into a post-game session up here in Syracuse. Got to hear Peterson talk a little bit, and he said that he had hip surgery before last offseason. He said that he was pitching pain-free for the first time in 3 to 4 seasons, essentially his entire major league career up to that point. So it doesn't surprise me that, and Bryan's referencing that exact stretch. Bryan's basically referencing when he got called back up last year. So he spent all of April and almost all of May rehabbing in the minors last year. So the last year and a half is Peterson at the big league level post hip surgery. And I don't think it's a surprise that he's been better. I'll tell you what, though, Arizona's going to start hitting left-handed pitching at some point. If you look at what Arizona has done historically against left-handed pitching, they've absolutely raked. I think they were number 1 last year against lefties. At least they were for a lot of the season. They've now got Marte back. They're gonna hit lefties at some point to a greater extent than they've hit them to this point in the year. I have a pretty strong lean to the over in this one. Go ahead, TB.
One note that's keeping me off this game is Peterson has a 308 average against and an 898 OPS against versus these batters. So that's kind of keeping me off.
Yeah, Arizona's raked lefties for years, and they're off to a slow start against left-handed pitching. But this is like this lineup is very similar to what the lineup was last year for Arizona. You have to think they bomb a couple of sort of mid-tier left-handed starters at some point. Go ahead, Bryan.
My only concern is what Brandon was talking about. It's all small sample sizes, and I'm not so sure that actually works overall. I will say that Peterson is a ground ball pitcher, 93 percentile in the ground ball rate, and this is a good hitter's ballpark. So if there's somebody who's going to give up the home runs, I think it will be Gallen. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
65 at bats against, so
65. That's not many.
Once again, I know there's not really a spot for him, but if Arizona wanted to improve their lineup right away, they would call up Jordan Lawler, who is essentially Babe Ruth at
again,
basically Hank Aaron at AAA right now. Go ahead, Bryan.
By the way, we were talking Arizona or not Arizona. There was the other game we were talking about. Not this Lawler, the other one. I believe he's coming back tonight. They've talked about it, that they actually said that he'd be coming back on Tuesday. So he will be back in the lineup, and that should make a little bit of a difference for him.
Blackie Lawless is coming back too.
Blackie Lawless, yes.
All right, Phantom picks. You guys thought you were going to get through the show without me talking
I told you not to get him started.
Phantom picks brings it up, so we talk about it. Of course, my only play for Monday, 5% play on the Mariners. Goes down in 11 innings. Absolutely baffling stuff from the Mariners manager to walk 2 batters to get to one of the best bat-to-ball contact guys in baseball right now in Jacob Wilson with less than 2 outs. Of course, he puts a knock into the outfield, wins the game for the A's, but the A's, man, this is like, it's like the Mo problems thing, right? Like when you win a lot of games and you win close games, you use your good bullpen guys, right? So suddenly the A's, they keep finding a way to win, but it's Miller every night. It's Ferguson every night. I believe Ferguson pitched his 3rd straight day yesterday to get that one home in extras. I don't think they intended to have him pitch yesterday, but when it was right there on a platter for them, they had to send him out 3 days in a row. This is an A's bullpen that's starting to get tired. And I've got to say, I was fortunate enough on Saturday. I had the Miami Marlins. Kyle Stowers takes Mason Miller deep with a grand slam, hands him his first blown save of the year to win that game for me. Miller had to battle last night, like 30 pitches. He's out there laboring. He might not pitch tonight either. So I'm inclined to come back with the Mariners here. I hate that I feel pot committed to do so, but I'm inclined to come back with the Mariners, especially because I haven't been overly impressed with Jeffrey Springs. So we'll go to Bryan Leonard. Are you inclined to come back with the Mariners as well?
Yeah, Springs looked really good early and not so good lately. Miller, 27 pitches yesterday. Tyler Ferguson, 43 pitchers the last 3 games. He will not pitch tonight. Holman, 35 pitches through the last 3 days, including 25 yesterday. I don't think he'll probably be available. They still have Sterner, who didn't pitch each of the last 2 days, and McFarland hasn't pitched the last 2 days. So they're a limited bullpen for Oakland. Sacramento. So if they do have a lead late, you're going to get the lesser arms coming in there. That may be a good live betting situation for Seattle. If Oakland does have a lead going into the late innings, then maybe we can come in and play Seattle at a nice price to get that win in comeback fashion like the A's did last night.
I agree. Even with their best arms, I think Seattle's bullpen is a little bit better than Athletics. It's debatable. They're pretty comparable in my opinion, but the Seattle lineup is just on fire, has been on fire. I see a huge advantage there. And if we take starting pitchers is kind of the X factor in this one, because don't really know what to expect from either one. A little bit inconsistent, but I think the Seattle bats will be the difference in this one, and it's plus money. You get the better team for plus money, road or home. I'll take the better team with plus money any day.
Yeah, I got to eat my words from beginning of the season. This Seattle team is so much better offensively than I ever expected they could be, and I was basing that off the fact that they were like 10th in the American League in runs scored last year, hit 221, and they really didn't make a ton of changes, but just to see like Cal Raleigh continued to like how good he is now, but probably the best offensive catcher in the game, and some of their guys maybe having a little bit of a bounce back year. But the thing that actually Bryan brought up that I think is such a great point is like Seattle's offense is heavily predicated on the home run, and they play at a ballpark that's bad to hit home runs. So now you put them in a AAA ballpark where there's a lot of cheap homers, right? That there's some dimension. It's not like a launching pad. It's not altitude related, but the dimensions of Sutter Health Park yield the cheap homer every once in a while. So yeah, Seattle in this ballpark is very appealing. What I'll let Bryan kind of finish that one off.
No other thoughts on this one.
Did you know Blackie Lawless's uncle was a MLB pitcher? Someone in the I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah,
and
I want to comment on this too. It's important. Jerry Davis says, you gotta like I feel like we don't do this enough as handicappers. Like you should always like kind of like, you got to acknowledge, yeah, I was on the Mariners. The A's were the better team last night. Like there's no question about that. 13 hits. Severino had 1 bad inning. And that is like what I'll go back to and what might keep me off the Mariners here. This A's lineup, we don't even know the ceiling for this group of young hitters right now. And it's why I kind of was high on the A's coming into this season. But this lineup profiles to be very, very strong against right-handed pitching. And that is a little bit of a concern for me, them going up against Hancock. So that might be what keeps me off of that Mariners A's games, but I won't be on the A's. It's just too horrible of a spot for them. They've used too much bullpen. I don't know if I could trust them in the late game situation. So maybe what Bryan was saying, a live betting opportunity right there could be it. All right. It's $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk. What do you guys have up for sale?
I have a plus money $5 MLB play. It's a play I really like. I don't know why it's plus money. I think it should cash. So you can grab that at my page at WagerTalk. Bryan?
I have not put up anything as of yet, but I will be putting up a big play on a team total in Major League Baseball today. We haven't really got into it on this show, so that'll work out pretty well. And I'll have some smaller plays up as well. But yeah, $5 if you're not buying it from any of us. There's a lot of good winners out there on $5 Tuesday. It's the best time to take advantage of our and check out our service. And yeah, buy a few of them. There's a lot of good handicappers on the website.
All right. We are right at the hour. We've hit all the chat questions. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will be back on tomorrow.
Great comments.
Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We're back live. And appreciate the questions. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, this show is live and on demand, so you can find it on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.